Do you want more? More time, more balance, more love, more sex, more money, more real, and less bullshit? This is the Women Wanting More podcast with Dr. Karen Osborne. Real life, real stories, plus real tips to get you more of what you want.
Sink or swim? Sister swink, sink or swim? I am coming from the pool from a swim lesson, and I do one-on-one private lessons with a swim coach. And I started, let me see, this is probably started in November, but they had some time I was traveling in the Christmas holidays and we were away. So I've probably had around, I want to say 8 sessions so far, one-on-one sessions. And then I've gone to the pool a couple times just, to practice, do drills and that kind of thing. And let me tell you something. Swimming is fucking hard. Swimming is hard. Apparently, since I also have muscles, I sink. I do not float easily. If you have more fat on your body, you float. If you have muscles, you are heavier. You're denser in the water. And so, and I'm not going to use it as a head trip and an excuse, but swimming is difficult. And so I went into this. I was able to swim before I started the swim lessons, but like hack swim. Do you know what I mean? Like I've never taken any formal lessons. I just I could save myself. I could maybe save a child, like whatever. But I was taking swim lessons. I'm like, you know what? I've been talking about this for a while. I don't really fit in the learn how to swim adult classes because I can swim, but then it seems there's no in between. And then there's like master's classes to perfect your stroke. And I'm just like, dude, I suck. I'm like, no, just come to open swim times. I'm like, no, I suck. And so I'm doing these. And so my specific thing and my main outcome that I want right now is to be really proficient in front crawl. And so if you know swimming or not, you know front crawl. And there are many components to it, right? There's the kick, there's the stroking, there's the relaxing in the water, there's the side glide. Side glide is my nemesis right now. It is my nemesis. I can stroke and kicking. Kicking's get a little bit better. I like to kick with the flippers. That's fun. You feel fast as shit. So that's a little slower moving, but it's the side glide. It's when I get to the side glide where I've done 1, 2, 3 strokes in the water as I'm blowing my bubbles, and I go to turn. That 2 things happen. Number 1, the ability of my head to rest on my shoulder is very difficult for me. Very difficult. I don't feel that. And then when I get to side glide, I feel my body start to sink in the water. When I start to sink in the water, I feel panicky. When I feel panicky, not like I know I'm going to sink, but there's a little bit of anxiety feel. When I get to that feel, my body tenses more. When my body tenses more, I sink more, and then everything just fucking falls apart. And so, and I can have times where it's a little better. It's just simply, it's a practice thing, right? But it made me think of this. I don't know why. I'm walking out of or as I'm actually getting changed, before I'm driving home to now shower and begin my work day. And speak here to you, my sister, is the phrase or the saying or the idea of sink or swim, right? So right now, I am sinking. I am sinking when I get to that. I need to swim, right? I sink. And what's interesting is right now, and now I had a different person today. Her name is Caitlin, lovely girl. She actually is swim coach for my son Tyson, because we have him doing one-on-one lessons. We just find he just does better with one-on-one. In group classes, sometimes he's a bit of he's just all over the place. He's very distracted. He just works better one-on-one. So we started doing that, and it serves him well. And so working with Caitlin today, and that feeling, that sensation of just I'm sinking, I'm fucking going down. And the feeling that I have is I voiced it to her a little bit more today, right? It's somebody new, and I'm not really someone that gets in my head a lot. I mean, clearly I just pick up the phone when I do this podcast and I start recording, right? I'm like, I have this idea, let me go. I don't sit there and try to manipulate it. I don't try to form a thesis about it. I just go, you know what? Here's a message I'm going to speak into. And I've done this enough, back to the whole thing of practice, that I've gotten pretty damn good at being able to take an idea and formulate something that's happened within my life and to create a story and a lesson, something that you can do as a result of that. Hence podcast I'm putting out here right now as I'm speaking this message. So sink or swim, sink or swim. So what do you do when you feel yourself start to sink? Right? Do you kind of, like me, like kind of get to the point of you feel a little anxious, a little panicky? Things are not going the way that you plan it to be. It's not smooth. Just like my stroke, they're not coming together. It's like parts and pieces that you can see the outcome, you can see what it is that you want, but yet there's something that happens. It's like for me with front crawl, I get to that point of side glide and things start to fall apart. I start to feel myself sinking. So I have choices when I get to this point. So here's my choice. Get in my fucking head. Okay, choice number 1. Choice number 2, remember that in the past I've had a problem with sinking, so therefore bring it into my present. Choice number 2. Choice number 3, be open to the possibility that this shit is going to take time and it's okay. Here's even another one. This is what my normal coach, Roxanne, said to me. She's like, so what if you sink? Why don't you just allow yourself to sink and see what that feels like? I remember when she said that to me a couple of weeks ago, I was like, my first thought was like, I know what that feels like. It's going to feel shitty. And then I went, oh, I see where she's getting at. I feel you, sister. I feel you. Because what is she basically saying to me? What I heard from me in that situation was, well, maybe you need to sink. Maybe you need to experience that. Maybe the story that you have about sinking is far more scary, is far bigger than actually sinking. You know, it's like what people often have when they have thoughts about things and they make it into something. They think that it means something because they attach something to the thought and they create more stuff. They're like, oh my God, if I really had that conversation with him, then he would think this and then I would say this. And they play this whole thing out in their mind. And then often when they actually have the conversation or say the thing they want to say with the person, they're like, oh, that actually wasn't so bad, right? So what would happen if I just went through the experience and I allowed myself to sink? So how does this relate to you, sister? Well, this could be true for you, where you get to a point where you don't feel like you know what you're doing. See, I'm a very physical person. I'm athletic and fit. I am used to being able to do a lot of those things well, and this is something where I don't feel like I do it well. And it sucks. And I get it. I'm saying it sucks and I have a smile on my face because I'm like, yeah, it sucks. That's how we get better. Like, it's okay for it to suck. Like, do you allow yourself to sink? Do you allow yourself to go through the sensations and the experience of sinking and feeling like you don't know what you're doing, or do you stop yourself? Do you get stuck in the stories? Do you say, I can't do this? Do you say, this is too hard? This is too scary, because if I sink, then this thing will happen. Do you spin these thoughts over and over and over and over in your mind until you've created this thought into this roaring inferno, which, by the way, is still just a fucking thought. See, my choices I have when I go back to my next swim lesson once a week I do my lessons, is to go in open. Is to go in relaxed, seeing a possibility for something different. To not drag the past in and say, well, I had this, session with Caitlin today and it was good and stuff, but it was kind of a sucky day. To understand that it's part of that process. To understand that in order for you to get good at anything, to feel like you're mastering it, like, there are times when you're going to feel like you don't know what the fuck you're doing. How many times does it happen to you if you were a parent? Like, that's a fucking hells to the yes, right? Where it's like, oh my God, what am I doing? But what do? You have children to care for. You can't go like, I'm done with this. I just must not do well. Okay, here you go, children. Off with another family. I apparently wasn't the right one. My bad. Like, you figure the shit out, right? Perhaps you fucking sinking is the greatest gift that is in front of you right now, and you are avoiding it because of the thoughts and the feelings and the uncomfortableness of it all. Maybe you need to fucking sink. Just like Roxanne said to me, well, why don't you just sink then? Why don't you just experience what it's like to sink? My oldest son, Tyson, said something really interesting to me today. I actually shared it on Instagram Live, which, by the way, if you don't follow me on Instagram, which is @WomenWantingMore, do so. You get to see what my days look like. I love Instagram stories, and I post up on the regular Instagram page like probably 3 or 4 times a day. Lots of videos. But my son Tyson said this to me. Now, this is a little dude who's really into like war games and soldiers and like shooting and weapons and knights, and like he's so into that stuff, right? And he said to me today, we had this conversation about, I don't know how it got to like hurricanes, tornadoes, and how people can die in those things. It's like, well, why would nature do such a thing? And, you know, it's what some kids will say. We talked about, so I said some people will say the same thing about God. We don't really have God conversations, but I'm definitely opening myself up more to these conversations myself, and so I'm having them also with my children. It's like, well, why would these things happen? Why would nature do that? Create these things that could kill people, Mommy. Why? And I said, well, you know, buddy, this is kind of part of it. People die. People, you know, babies are born. People die. There's balance within things. And then there's time that things are going to happen and they just don't really seem fair. And they're like a tragedy, and it's sad. And he then turned to me and he said, Mommy, he goes, I don't think I want a lot more of the shooting stuff. And he's kind of like relating to like the games that he's playing and stuff like that. And I said, I go, okay. I go, why is that, buddy? He's like, because, you know, I just don't want that. I think I go, well, what would you like to do instead? And he was kind of saying also too, he's like, I don't want the world to be about that. Like, my boy is someone who you wouldn't really believe that maybe if you first met him, or if he was on one of his crazy ass days. Very rough, aggressive, in your face kind of boy. Boy's boy, if you will. But my friend Jill pointed this out the other day, and she's like, I think Tyson's a lot more of an empath. I'm like, you're fucking right. Because he'll also melt when he sees like a baby. Like, melt. 7-year-old boy wants to go and hold a baby? Like, that's not a common thing. He sees puppies and stuff, and he's just like, oh. Like, his heart is just so big. And so this big-hearted boy that said to me, I don't think I want to do like the shooting and the killing games and the hurting people and stuff. I said, what would you like to do instead? But he goes, fun, Mommy, just fun. Just fun stuff. And I said, well, let's talk about this too, buddy. You know, the strongest force in the world is actually, it's not any kind of weapon. It's not any kind of war, not any kind of fight. It's love. It's love. So what got me off on the tangent of sharing this story? See, this is also one of the raw things and real things you're going to get with me, sister, when you listen to the podcast. It's like, wait a second, where's Karen going? I am so present in my moments and in my days that I often too kind of go like, okay, where was I now? Sink or swim, talking about sink or swim, being in the pit of things, allowing yourself to actually sink and realizes that there's so many great messages within there. Oh, I think that was basically the shit with Tyson. It was just like, you know, there are up and down times. Like, there are things for us to learn in these experiences. So, sister, if you feel like you're sinking right now, why don't you just open yourself up to fucking sinking? Like, imagine if all the energy put into resisting, you just let that all go and you just surrendered into it. And trusted that there's something for you to see in this experience. And that maybe all the thoughts you have about sinking or what that means are actually not so scary at all. But you got to allow yourself to sink in order for that to happen. See, I have to really allow myself to sink, to have those experiences in order for me to learn how to swim, in order for me to get better. Sink or swim, baby. Sink or swim. Here's your more tip for today. Where are you sinking right now in your life that you are resisting when you really need to just relax and let yourself sink, to be fully in the experience? And I want you to journal about this. Journal about this. Journaling gives us insights and revelations. You know, journaling is something that I started up like 6 years ago, and I felt like so weird and awkward and like, what am I doing? And, you know, it just felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. I'm just writing the same shit over and over again. You know, and then I really found that after 3 years into that I created a system. And it's like, I created something recently, which is called the More Journal System, that many of you have picked up so far. It's still, I believe, still in pre-launch by the time this episode comes out at the special introductory price of that, which is just $27. But I realized I couldn't understand when so many of you for a while were saying like, I'm like, what do you mean journal? Like, I don't know how to. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know how to? open up the book and start writing, bitch. What the fuck is your problem? Like, what do you mean, how do I? It's like, how do I walk? I'm like, oh, right. It took me a while and I felt that way too. Like, I literally just recently, like a few months ago, went, oh, I need to show them. And so that's why I created this. And I realized that I do have a system and that this is the reason why I'm able to get insights and revelations every single day. It's just like one of those things that you don't know that you're doing it at times if you're doing something well until other people kind of let you know. And so here's what I want you to do with your 3 things today. We just said the more tip. Here's the first thing I want you to do. You got to get the more journal system. You have to get the more journal system. It is 3 very easy to follow videos. They're less than 30 minutes total with worksheets and a bonus PDF, which is 30 journaling icebreakers. So if you're ever stuck, these are questions you can ask yourself, statements you can use to really get the ball rolling. But this is a system. This is really will help you create a powerful habit so you can get results. Because, journaling is meant to, when you journal, you're like, oh, you don't just feel better. You don't just vent and like verbally, vomit on the page, but you actually have insights and revelations. Big ones, small ones. That's what journaling is designed to do. And this system really gives you the steps to do that. So to get that, and hopefully too, right now, you still have it in pre-launch. If not, it's going to the next price up and it's still worthwhile at that, like huge, huge value in this. So that's over at drkarenosborne.com/how-to-journal. drkarenosborne.com/how-to-journal. Also, step number 2 I want you to do is to make sure to subscribe to the newsletter. There are still so many of you that are not receiving it and you're missing out. Like, this is the first of many things that are happening in 2018 with the Women Wanting More movement. This is really going big this year in 2018. And if you're not in the newsletter, you're going to miss out on VIP access to a lot of this. So that's over at drkarenosborne.com. And in addition, I want you to go ahead and share up this episode with at least one woman that you know needs to hear this message. Like, this is not to be kept under wraps. This is not to be kept to yourself. This is to be shared. This is why I do this podcast. And there are almost 3,000 of you that listen to it every single day in like 180, crazy numbered countries around the world. Like, share this up. There's more women that need to hear this message because I believe, my deep why for doing this, sister, is that if you fully plug into the power that you possess as a wife, mother, and yourself as a woman, that there will be more love in this world, period. If we fully plug into the power that we possess as wives, mothers, and selves, that there will be more love in this world. We have a unique gift to offer as women. It's about time we start fucking using it. So share this episode up so another sister can hear this message to be able to create a life of more. So I will talk to the next episode, sister. A life of more is just one step away from you doing the fucking work every single day. I love and appreciate you.
To get the show notes of each Women Wanting More episode, including the How to Get More tip, subscribe to the newsletter at drkarenosborne.com/newsletter.